First, she made history, then she made headlines, but now she's been dubbed the worst mayor in America.
Tiffany is a narcissist, and she is going to do what she wants to do. I feel like she knows that this is over, but she's gonna go down kicking and screaming like an MMA fight.
When Tiffany Henyard was elected, she became the youngest and the first female mayor in the town's 130-year history. But sometimes the biggest threat to a community's well-being comes from the very same person trying to champion its cause. Henyard currently sits on more than one federal radar due to a 4-year streak of reckless spending, unhinged behavior, and continual displays of brazen audacity, like spending 43,000 taxpayer dollars on Amazon in one day, and showing up to a village board meeting dressed as a cocaine kingpin. So saddle up and settle in, because the worst mayor in America is just getting started. Despite enormous pressure from a furious town and the feds closing in, this self-proclaimed super mayor is doubling down instead of stepping down.
What do you mean? I will be victorious tonight. You will see. My people are here. They're not gonna go nowhere.
Tiffany Henyard was born and raised in the same village of Dolton, Illinois, so she has witnessed firsthand the declining state of her village and how that has affected her friends, family, and community. Being passionate about her community, Tiffany was really determined to become involved, wanting to find ways to improve her hometown and, of course, the lives of the people that she cared about. In 2013, she became a village trustee of Dolton, and that new position on the village board really gave Tiffany a lot more insight into the governance of her hometown and how all of the pressing issues were currently being handled by the administration. This was a really good thing for a while because she became way more engaged with the community, which reduced the distance between the people and the government and also allowed for a lot more transparency. People of Dolton absolutely fell in love with Tiffany, and so for the next 8 years, she became known as the People's Trustee. By engaging with the villagers and showcasing her proactive approach, Tiffany established a strong foundation for some of her future ambitions, and she required this level of strong support to achieve what no other woman had done before, becoming the first village mayor in town history. In February of 2021, the people of Dolton confidently elected Tiffany Henyard as their first female mayor.
Hey guys, it's your favorite super mayor!
Get it? She's the supervisor and the mayor, super mayor.
It actually wasn't difficult to convince these village residents because they were already frustrated with the state of their hometown and they were hungry for change. Henyard promised to do a lot of great things, and Dolton residents were hopeful they would finally get the much needed change she promised. Instead, they received total chaos.
I have the seat now, whether you like it or not. I am your mayor.
In the beginning, it appeared that Tiffany was doing exactly what she had promised by attacking the village issues head on. She established safety initiatives which improved the village police department and its strategies so they could address the high crime rate. Money was also invested in infrastructure and cleanup efforts because Dolton desperately needed a facelift to attract new business. Tiffany's administration utilized things like social media and other strategies to really engage with the community and once again close that gap between people and government. For a while, Tiffany herself would regularly engage with the community, making herself accessible to the people and giving them the impression that she actually cared about the people of Dolton. But that facade didn't last very long. Shortly after taking office, it became crystal clear that the only person Tiffany Henyard actually cares about is herself. Behind closed doors, tension started to rise between Tiffany and the members of the Dolton Village Board over the fact that she was basically acting like a dictator.
Y'all are black. Y'all sitting up here feeding and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
Instead of consulting the trustees and other officials, Tiffany was making decisions all by herself, including putting underqualified people in key positions in her office and firing employees for strange reasons. According to Samisha Williams, one of the former directors of building permits and licenses, Henyard asked her to withhold building permits and license for people who didn't donate to her campaign or people she just generally didn't like. Williams and other former employees have filed lawsuits against Tiffany and the entire village of Dolton, including the former Dolton police chief, Robert Collins. Collins claims that he was fired by the mayor simply because his wife happens to be friends with a couple of people who didn't support the mayor politically when she was running for office. Henyard's ego could not handle that because she sees all of them, including the former police chief, as a political enemy. Collins has also spoken publicly about the unnecessary security detail that the mayor pays for and how her personal use of the department made it almost impossible to keep Dolton safe. A year later, and to everyone's surprise, Tiffany was also appointed and sworn in as the supervisor of Thornton Township and its 17 communities. This meant Tiffany was bringing home a $224,000 salary on top of the $50,000 salary she was receiving as Dolton's mayor. The village trustees, however, started to suspect that Tiffany wasn't just using that fat-ass paycheck to purchase more of her luxury items and lavish lifestyle, which included, by the way, fine dining, first-class travel all across the country, and of course, that personal security detail. But the board wasn't getting any answers from Tiffany. She refused to answer any of these questions, and according to village trustee Brittany Norwood, Tiffany was evasive in terms of opening the village books. But Tiffany, she loves being mayor, and she's not going to let anyone forget that, including the board members.
Y'all forget I am the leader. They want to hear from the mayor, if y'all ain't learned that yet. The mayor, not the trustees that don't do nothing, that only run their mouth. Y'all don't do no work.
So if the trustees don't do anything, what was she doing for 8 years? The trustees turned to former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot and hired her as a special investigator, hoping that she would be able to uncover the truth about Tiffany and all of those expensive trips. It was around this time that the residents of Dolton started to report that the FBI was interviewing them and asking questions about their mayor. A number of people confirmed that the agents were asking around about the alleged misuse of taxpayer money, which included ridiculous overtime payments for police officers who worked as Tiffany's personal security. It was also heavily suspected that Tiffany was using her power as mayor to basically force people to support her. If they refused to support her or were even associated with the wrong group, the mayor would use the police department to retaliate, especially against small businesses, by holding up business licenses and permits as a form of punishment. She allegedly utilized the police department to harass her quote-unquote enemies, making the officers follow these people and basically give them fines and tickets for no reason. Last year, a Fox 32 investigation followed Henyard and her personal security detail from morning until night just to see what they were actually doing. And what they were doing was driving Miss Daisy, oftentimes to her second taxpayer-funded job, which was the supervisor of Thornton Township. Speaking of taxpayer-funded jobs, acting police chief Lewis Lacey was recently indicted on bankruptcy charges by a federal grand jury. He faces charges of bankruptcy fraud, making false statements in a bankruptcy case, and good old perjury. Each of those charges carries a sentence up to 5 years. Unsurprisingly, Lewis has been a very outspoken and vocal supporter of Tiffany, which isn't surprising since they share so much in common. It's believed that he was hit with this indictment, which is 9 counts, by the way, because of his close proximity and personal connection to the mayor. As one lawyer put it, this could be a strategy to see if he just might flip on the so-called Dolton Dictator. The investigation by Lori Lightfoot revealed that officers assigned to Henyard racked up hundreds of hours of overtime, which cost the taxpayers more than $1 million to cover. In one instance, an officer was paid over $13,000 for 303 hours of overtime in a 2-week period, which is weird because there's only 336 hours in 2 weeks. How is that humanly possible? Lightfoot's investigation also confirmed that the trustees had been absolutely correct in feeling concerned about the mayor's spending habits.
Over-the-top meals, lobster, crab legs. She liked the good stuff.
When Henyard first took over office, Dolton's general fund was sitting more than $5.6 million in the green. But by the summer of 2024, it was in a net deficit by more than $3 million. According to the 4-month investigation, Dolton has been unable to pay its bills since March of 2023. And Henyard has more than 589 checks sitting on her desk, totaling over $6 million, which should have been approved by June. However, they couldn't be sent to the vendors due to the lack of funds. During Henyard's administration, the village's monthly expenses have increased by almost 30%. The police department expenditures have increased by 21%. And general administration and compensation costs have increased by 47%. In addition to the 9 domestic trips to Las Vegas and other locations, the record showed a total of $43,000 spent one day on Amazon, $8,000 spent at Wayfair, and an additional $2,000 at Best Buy.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
A toddler could run this town more responsibly than this. Tiffany was also using the town's money on promotional campaigns, which included massive billboards and over-the-top public events. These events could have been nice little gatherings to bring the community together, but Tiffany would rather use tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars to throw a party. She held this event called Taste of Thornton Township, which was a total flop and cost the taxpayers $85,000. That amount included $50,000, which she used to bring in 2 musical artists who ended up performing for 30 minutes each. Needless to say, the residents were pissed off and couldn't understand why they were paying for this party when it was clearly a party intended just for the mayor herself.
Would you call this a functional government?
Not totally, no.
Transparent?
Not really.
Are you concerned about how money is being spent?
Yes.
She was already skating on really thin ice, but she wasted no time launching her next fiasco, which was building a pretty pricey ice rink. Building the rink cost $115,000, including a $10,000 down payment, which she built without ever informing the village board of trustees. Once they found out about the project and the price of it was revealed, they halted the rest of the payments, but of course, Tiffany went behind their backs and had the project finished through a different company.
God wanted me to lead the people. God knew that I wouldn't take no mess. He knew that I would stand strong in the fire for you.
Here's the thing. Tiffany did not build this ice rink with the people of Dolton in mind. She built it for herself. According to another trustee, Kiana Belcher, the rink only gets used when Henyard allows it.
It's only open when she's there or she's having an event.
But the audacity never ends. During the grand opening, Henyard mocked the village board, saying, "Remember when all 5 of them trustees said no? Look what God did." I think she's forgetting where God sends habitual liars, and let's just say it's not a lake of ice. Speaking of the devil, Tiffany also founded her own charitable nonprofit organization known as Tiffany Henyard Cares. Now, surely no one would do something sketchy in an organization meant to help cancer survivors, right? Wrong, because the one thing Tiffany Henyard doesn't do is care. WGN Investigates uncovered that Tiffany's foundation benefited from money, manpower, and promotion from the village of Dolton and Thornton Township. Township credit cards were used to pay for hotel stays and meals during her Tiffany Henyard Cares walk from Dolton to Springfield in 2022. That event was meant to support a breast cancer-related bill that was never formally filed. Tiffany Henyard Cares also failed to report how it was spending money and who exactly was benefiting from this charity, although I think we know who is benefiting. After the Attorney General threatened to take action to recover money from the foundation's board members, she conveniently found financial reports to present, but of course they were incomplete and attempted to hide the truth. And that would be because the majority of the charity's money came from taxpayers. Since pulling that little stunt, Tiffany has tried to distance herself, which is damn near impossible since she put her whole-ass government name in the title of the charity. Despite her outlandish mismanagement of funds, Tiffany held a $1 million Facebook giveaway in February of this year for Black History Month, which normally would have been great, except where do you think that money came from? It came from a fund in Thornton Township, which is normally used to help struggling people quietly pay their mortgage and rent. But did Tiffany mention that during her Facebook Live event? No, she did not. Instead, she took sole responsibility, like the hero that she is, taking all the credit for this amazing opportunity to change people's lives, which, by the way, she should have already been doing as mayor, but like in a legal, ethical way. Despite all of these incidents showing her sheer disrespect for people and complete disregard of her civil responsibility, Henyard somehow found the the gall to show up to a village board meeting dressed as a cocaine kingpin to the tune of, "Bitch better have my money." Meanwhile, the people of Dolton are still wondering when the bitch is gonna stop spending theirs.
Tiffany Henyard certainly isn't shy about attracting attention. Here she is starting a Dolton Village board meeting dressed like the Wesley Snipes character in the movie New Jack City, later punctuating her political points with the help of her own DJ.
Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank you, DJ.
Recently, in a fun little twist, a temporary restraining order was issued against Henyard and 3 of her new appointees. A judge ruled that the newly appointed police chief, village attorney, and village administrator cannot work at Village Hall because the mayor appointed them illegally, because the mayor appointed them without the consent of the village board. Between Henyard's almost $300,000 salary and whatever her boyfriend makes, the two of them have more cash than Johnny and June, yet they still haven't paid their landlord rent since August. Their landlord, Janetta Hall, has filed a lawsuit seeking payment, which is 100% understandable. Not only is the couple behind thousands of dollars in rent, they also changed the locks and garage code so she couldn't get in. According to Miss Janetta, she actually used to consider the mayor one of her friends and did campaign work for her when she was running for mayor, which makes Henyard's behavior even more disgusting. Janetta Hall is still waiting on the lawsuit papers to be served to the mayor, but apparently the Cook County Sheriff's Department has tried and failed to serve these papers both at the mayor's home and Village Hall, making stacks of paper in overtime, but can't seem to serve one that's court-ordered. Henyard often treats her position as the government's Burger King, but she can't always have it her way. On December 3rd of 2024, Henyard lost her nomination as Thornton Township's supervisor. This woman believes in herself, so much so she will seek re-election next year in the middle of a federal investigation and everyone calling for her recall. During a 90-minute rant on Facebook Live, Tiffany went on to defend herself, calling for consequences on those who oppose her.
I will be seeking arrest for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges. And that's just me telling you a little bit, because all this point the finger to Tiffany or allow me, I'm over it. Now it's time for me to speak. As I say, truth speaks.
We are still waiting for the full truth, but the people of Dolton deserve answers. For starters, why were they denied the improvements, transparency, and safety by such a self-centered and profoundly selfish leader with the moral backbone of a wet Band-Aid? It's hard to imagine how Tiffany Henyard is going to weasel her way out of this situation that she has 100% gotten herself into, but expect her to fight like hell to take good people down with her.
I'm basically fighting against the devil, the evil spirits. I'm the good spirit, they the evil spirit, because I never see nobody try to tear down people this much.
If you enjoy watching the downfall of corrupt leaders like the worst mayor in America, click the video in the top left corner to see who's next.